Work? Does it work?
I love you.
That one works.
Does anybody have any questions?
No questions for Felicia?
No questions?
Somebody has a question. Someone has a question.
Somebody's gotta have a question.
What's a susu?
Oh, yeah.
No, I just want to thank you because I think your presentation was very inspiring, especially for me coming in technology. I am curious though, why did you change specifically to finance?
Because of the fact that I think when I left, one of the main reasons I left, and I explained the reason, my mother-in-law was a really important part of that. It was due to the fact that after all these years of making a six-figure income, even though I didn't make $250,000, $500,000, I did not learn any of this until I became financial literate and became licensed, and now I'm going for my securities license. And it was to really empower other women because I never was told. There's so much information that we're just not told, and it's not because it doesn't exist. They've existed for 25, 30 years. So the inspiration behind it, my mom had a sister circle called the Paysetters, and we've been around for 46 years, and I had a group of 30 women that kind of raised me, so this is in tribute to them, is creating that sister circle of empowering other women-owned businesses to mentor to our young women.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Felicia. Something I forgot to say, and I just want to mention, and this is serious. The little film I made, I actually bought Facebook ads and broke them up into little 20 and 30-second and 10-second ads to get kids to vote in the midterms. And I spent $3,000 because I'm not Oprah. I am going to recut it for the general election. So my website there's some stuff in the little swag bags, patcaesar.com. And also, this is easy to remember, cryingvotinglady.com. There'll be a recut on there by the summer of 2020, maybe sooner. And go on it and share it with your friends. There might even be another little film, I don't know. But to get everybody to go out and vote for the Democrats, if you're a Democrat, for the next election. Okay, it's just I forgot, because I did it to help in a serious note. All right, now our next speaker, a young lady who has been self-employed for 30 years, Miss Adrienne Miller. She's been self-employed for 30 years. She has a passion for traveling the world. She said, your business cannot be successful without sales, and she is right. She is a woman that can make your company anew, but don't ask her where she went to college or grad school. Here is Adrienne Miller speaking to us about sales, sales, and sales.
I'm not using a mic unless you tell me I have to use a mic. I don't want to. So if you tell me I have to use a mic, you're not going to be my friend. And it's not going to be good for you because I'm going to call on you all the time. Okay, thank you so very much. It's great to be here. I love being here. I love Deborah. She is my role model. I cannot stand your posts in the mornings with your fucking Zumba at 6 a.m., man. Really? Okay? Give it up. Give it up. And this position I have after Pat's incredible film, okay, and that inspiring PowerPoint, I have nothing. You have me now for 15 minutes. Suck it up, okay? I'm really pretty damn good at this. All right, so here's the thing. None of this counts if you don't have clients. None of this. You don't need financial literacy if you're not making a frigging penny. It doesn't matter. I don't care how groovy your business is. I don't care how much you have this brand. I don't care about your marketing message. I don't care about your social media presence unless you know how to sell and unless you have a sales strategy. The rest of that stuff is great and important. But I have had many a client that had fabulous marketing materials, that had a beautiful website, that had pretty letters and brand messaging and all the rest of that stuff, and they were suffering. Their sales were barely there, okay? Because they didn't have a sales strategy, they didn't understand how to sell. So what I'm going to do in 10 minutes or whatever I have is go over some of the key components and make sure you really do listen. What was I going to say? Oh, www.theblatanttruth.com full disclosure, I wrote that book. You may think it sucks, you may not, but it's free, so go download it, man, and then you take away some gems from it. If you have any personal questions, anything you want to ask me about any of this, your unique, specific situation, I am more than happy, thrilled actually, to answer questions and provide information. I started my company 32 years ago, and so I give back all the time. I am totally looking to help people and watch them grow. That's really my mantra at this point. Okay, so one thing, first thing, most important thing, I will never stop saying it and screaming it aloud. What makes you different in the marketplace from all the other people who do what you do? Not what makes you better. When you tell people I'm better than, they start to lean back, they get a little bit defensive, and they're cynical because no one says, I'm really not as good as, okay? Everyone says they're better. It's bullshit until you show what makes you different. We're in New York, the best and the brightest. We all have competition, honorable competition, not the people who don't do what you do, but they do it badly, but the people who do it well. Okay, the people who really do it well, they have good businesses. You look at them, you maybe even want to mirror some of what you do on them, but whatever it is, what makes you different in the marketplace? Point number one, but the real important part there, is what improvement does that give to the prospect that you're talking to? So I'm different, but if they don't really see an improvement or a benefit from your point of differentiation, that's like different for different sake, and it doesn't mean anything. So think about what makes, here's a great sales line. My clients tell me what makes me different is, okay? Master that line, own it. What that means to you is, and there's where your benefit is. That's where you're going to tell them what your difference is and how that will improve their situation. Whether you sell B2B or you sell B2C, it frankly doesn't matter at all. What you do must equal an improvement, otherwise no one really cares. Because the devil I know is better than the devil I don't. And why will I make any sort of change unless you show me, okay, that there's an improvement? So that's the very first thing. Homework assignment, go back to your offices, your homes, go to Starbucks, wherever you go, and write what makes me different is, and write 15 reasons, and then apply an improvement from each one of those reasons. If you can't come up with them, call me. I'm happy to come up with them with you. Okay, point number two, and they're in no order because I have ADD and I can never put anything in order at all. Okay, my brain is like a complete scrambled egg. Point two, all right, you all, it appears, go to networking things, you go to events. I mean, you're here, you probably are in networking groups, you meet people, you all do the card thing. Some people whipped out their cards real quickly. I was at something last week and someone like threw a card at me and said, and don't forget, if you need any new insurance, you should call me. Like, fuck you. Don't you think I have insurance? Are you crazy? What do you think? I just crawled out from under a rock and I didn't have any insurance? And why should I give you my business? I don't even know your name. Oh, you threw a card at me. That's not the way it is. Here's what you gotta do. You're meeting people, you're going to events, you got cards, you got your all your contacts. You've got your clients, you've got your prospects, you've got your networking buddies, you've got your key referral sources. How do you stay on the grid with them? How am I going to remember Felicia in a week, in a month, in 6 months? Give me a break. We're all busy, right? It's in your database. database filled with hundreds, if not thousands of people. How are you staying on the grid? Are you touching base and checking in? If you're doing that, touching base and checking in are some of the oldest cliches known to mankind. And if you're not doing that only with your spouse, your parents, your siblings, etc., if you're trying to do that with networking contacts and prospects, etc., they're finding you boring really quickly. Really quickly. So you get to touch base once, you get to check in once, and after that, you're out of the water. I will never open your email again. I have 700 of them a day, and you do not get opened if you're checking in. You have to add value to the relationship before there's a relationship. Here's how you could have added value today. You could have invited everyone in your database to this event, and you would have made that rock star really happy. You would have made this speaker really happy. Okay? And you know what? Even if you didn't show up here today, you could have sent Deborah's invitation out to all the people you knew and said, hey, this is an awesome, cool event. Deborah's great, etc. I can't go, but you know, maybe if you're not busy, consider it. Or send it out to your contacts. So sharing invitations like that is an awesome touch point. Awesome, because you're getting on the grid of those prospects and networking resources and all the people you have to know without saying, hi, checking in, got anything for me? Okay, that's number one. Number two, introductions. We live people are our currency. We live in an introduction world. And so, if you open your email, and what your email from that you get from me says, hi, Lauren, I want to introduce you to so-and-so. This is proactive. This isn't because someone like tapped me on the shoulder and said, do you know an executive coach? But because I saw synergies between the two businesses and I proactively introduced them. Who would ever delete my email if I'm proactively making introductions? Really? I don't think anybody would unless you're planning to move to Bali and stop working. That's not possible. So it's invitations, proactive introductions, and information. We live in an information age. It's so unbelievably to position yourself as a subject matter expert, as a thought leader, because the internet makes it really easy. Full confession, I predate all this technology stuff. I really do. I mean, it's kind of funny now. Life is so easy because I have my world in my pocketbook. Thank you, iPhone. All right? So I send TED Talk videos to people all the time. I subscribe to a lot of really good newsletters, and I get a good newsletter, and I forward it to someone and go, you may not read newsletters, but check out article number 2, baby. This one is really going to appeal to you. The New York Times. The New York Times had a thing about procrastination a couple of days ago, and I have a subscription, but I also subscribe to something that gets me articles like a day early. I don't even know how or why, but all I know is I jumped the gun, and before it was all over LinkedIn, I had sent that article out to a whole lot of people because I found it really interesting article. So I'm on the grid of all the people that have to live and breathe Adrian Miller, that when they go to sleep at night, their last thought should be, isn't Adrian great? And when they wake up in the morning, I want them to say, Adrian rocks! But seriously, I want to be relevant, and I can't be relevant if I'm checking in and touching base. I need to build business, okay? I want to have a steady, ongoing flow of leads that at some point in the sales cycle, I am going to be able to turn into revenue-producing clients. And I haven't been able to do that successfully for 32 years. I would be in that shitty job that you discussed, okay, getting a paycheck and waiting till they decide I'm too old, too dumb, and firing me, okay? So that's point number 2. How do you stay on the grid, visible, relevant, and adding value to relationships before there's that revenue exchange relationship? Point number 3, and this one is really important, and I'm a customer too, right? We're all customers. People try to sell you things. I buy things for my business all the time, and of course I have certain consumer things I buy for myself. Asking questions. Do you know that if you ask the right questions, people will tell you what they want, when they want it, how they want it, what they'll pay for it, everything that's in their head. So if you're in a sales situation and you're trying to woo somebody to get to be a piece of business, shut up and start asking questions. Stop talking. Stop telling them about you. Stop explaining your business, because you're probably explaining stuff they don't even want to know about, okay? You find out what they want to know about if you ask them the right questions. It's so easy. It's so strategic. It helps you get from point A to point B to point C in that sales cycle in a really beautiful way. Okay, in a really beautiful way. So, homework assignment number 2, it's like I'm channeling my inner teacher. It's so much fun. Homework assignment number 2, and you have to do it over the weekend, and there's no open book test, is write down 15 questions, okay, that you should be using. And there are good to know questions, and then there are must know questions. The must know questions, everybody's business is different. I always, they're pretty simple. They're pretty simple. You have to know these things to even know if you could, quote, sell whatever your product or service is to the prospect. However, good to know questions are much more open-ended and much more relationship building and really help someone uncover for you what's important to them. Okay, so those are 3 things, must-dos, help you to be successful immediately. Last thing, just because I built my business from 32 years by networking. I started my business because I got out of the hospital after giving birth to my second son, having a 2-year-old also, they wheel you out, at least they did then. I was with my husband, he had the 2-year-old, you're holding the little baby. I handed the little baby to him and got on an airplane and flew to Los Angeles, like leaky, right? We're really leaky. It's very graphic, I'm sorry. There's a couple of guys in here, really, it's disgusting. Really leaky, I had a C-section, really achy, and like blubbery. Oh, it was not a pretty picture, but I was going to LA to pitch. And I was working for an ad agency, and I was one of the little rising star baby girl, super at sales, and so off I go with a newborn and a baby. So over Kansas, I decided that I could no longer do this anymore, and I landed and went to a phone booth. Who's old enough to remember phone booths? Okay, I risked getting the plague, right? Because we didn't Purell everything then either. I have a really good immune system. Okay, here I am, and I did not Purell. I put a phone next to my mouth and said, "I'm giving notice now." I gave them 6 months notice and started my business. And here I am. I thought it was going to be a year, just transition until the babies are older. Who knew that a 2-year-old is still young when they're 3? I thought they would be going out to work or something. But and the business just grew. The business grew because my first duty of that business was I sat down at my dining room table, AKA office, and called every human I knew. Every human. Breathing. I did. If they would just stop breathing, it was okay to call still. Really, everyone. And within my first week, I was working for Ziff Davis, and I was working for Time Magazine. Okay? Hammered them like unbelievable. And it was a kind of unique thing back then. It's not so unique now. But, and that's how the business started. So proactive networking is really where it's at. You don't wait to make introductions. You make them because you see synergies. You don't wait for someone to say, do you know? You're actively, you're setting yourself, how many people do I want to introduce per day? Do I want to do 3, 5, 10, 20? My personal goal is pretty high, and I do it first thing in the morning. I'm an early morning person. I'm a 5 a.m. person. That's when I do those introductions. So they're out of the way, and now I can go about my day. Okay? So those are the 4 things, because proactive networking, no matter what stage of your business you're in, I still do it. My business is very mature. I have 2 other businesses, and even they're mature by now. Proactive networking, what makes you different in the marketplace? Please do not fool yourself. We're in New York. And many of you maybe are in global types of businesses. And if I don't like you, I can probably get whatever you're selling online somewhere else. So what makes you different in the marketplace? How are you staying on the grid, AKA keeping in contact with everyone who is falling into your sales and networking funnel. What are the questions you need to ask to help uncover what you need to know to sell somebody? And of course, proactive networking. And some tips on that are in the book, theblatanttruth.com. AdrianMiller.com is one of my websites. amiller@adrianmiller.com is my email. And I hope to hear from you, and thank you so much.
Give me
If
questions.
you have more than one business,
I guess we don't need much.
how do you go about, like how you said, being proactive? Sometimes I find myself just promoting one business at a time, even though I have other businesses.
Yeah, so I have 3 businesses, 3 big businesses. But you do have to, you can't be like the person in front of Bloomingdale's that has their watches, Rolexes here, and in the car I have some Fendi pocketbooks. I mean, you have to you have to focus on one thing, and you can, through the relationship and through conversation, talk about your other businesses. I'm kind of lucky that mine have strong intersects, but some people, I still really love someone, Laura Allen, she's great, thepitchgirl.com. One of her clients is an architect, but she also makes the best biscotti in New York. You really can't be selling your architecture services and say, you want a cookie? I mean, it makes you feel kind of dirty. So you have to be careful about how you do it. But many of us have multiple businesses now. You talked about multiple streams of revenue. I have other businesses, not because I really want to be like, oh, and I have another one, but because there's times, man, that sales training dries up, okay? And sorry, especially when both of my kids were in college and grad school. Are you kidding me? I needed nothing to dry up. It just had to come through. So you have to think about what can I do to have consistent, ongoing revenue. Passive revenue is awesome. But so a lot of us have more than one business.
Any more
other
questions?
Yeah.
Sometimes I attract clients who have what you said. They think that they have their pretty branding and their pretty logo and their pretty website, that they all of a sudden develop this, if you build it, they will come mentality. So how do I convince them that they have to also focus on their sales strategy as well as their brand messaging?
So if they come to you and they already have all those things, and they don't have, they realize that they did build it and they didn't come. You know, there really are just a small number. First of all, it also depends what you're selling. I mean, if you're selling services, man, do not expect to put up a couple of lead pages and Insta pages and all of a sudden you're going to lay back fat and happy because you're making $150,000. Talk to me, $150,000 a month. You have to explain, sales and marketing are integrated disciplines. You really should not have one without the other. I never tell people not to have marketing. I tell them a great website, great marketing materials, a strong brand, etc. will help your sales. I do believe that without that, though, you have a better, you can sell. I believe though sitting back and just letting the marketing do it for you, unless you have that type of product and maybe that kind of service, it's going to be really hard. So just say, they're integrated, they go hand in hand, and the truth is, the combination will generate more than either one of them alone. Sales strategy and sales competencies are really, they're required to grow business.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What ad agency did you work for?
Oh, it's a company called Howard Marks Advertising, and we did rock groups. My clients were Kiss, The Village, people, aging myself, Summer. I went out to dinner with all of them. Did drugs at Studio 54. That was such good times.
You were account management?
I was an account supervisor. Yeah.
So it's creative religious, but I just wondered if one,
Yeah,
which ad agency
it was
was.
really, it was fun time, but then I had kids. It really ruined it all.
You have another question? Ruined it all? Oh, wow. You have another question?
With respect to networking, making phone calls diligently, how did you manage to get the clients to answer your call?
Okay, so you're so young, it's so nice. 30 years ago, there was none of this automation stuff.
People spoke to each other.
People talked, and you know what? They actually had a secretary, and the secretary you made friends with, and they put your call through. It was a beautiful world. Now we live in the era of voicemail. So what I'm going to say, though, is a couple of things. You really need to use voicemail as your friend. You've got to have an awesome voicemail message. And the other thing you need to know is you must be persistent. You can't lose what you don't have. And if you're adding value to the relationship, if you're not touching, hey, I'm calling to just keep selling you. If you're adding value, they're not going to be pissed off about you leaving messages and sending emails. It's only when it's totally self-serving do you lose any momentum. So be persistent. One of my biggest clients ever, I got after 37 phone calls, not in a week. I wasn't a stalker, but live by this mantra, okay? Have it inked on your arm if you're into tattoos. You can't lose what you don't have, really. You don't have it. Don't kid yourself, okay? And if you do it right, you have the chance of getting it. If you back off and just like throw your hands up in the air, you're not going to get anything. But make sure that you're being persistent with some company or individual that's frankly qualified. Because nothing worse than calling, emailing, calling, only to find out, oh my God, this account was worth about 12 cents. You lose all your potential and revenue. Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. I learned a lot today. Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, before our star of the show, Deborah Dixon, my new publicist, who's going to give me PM Path, does anybody want to take, we're a little ahead of schedule, does anyone want to take a 5-minute bathroom break? I'm in menopause, so I'm hot flashing and want to pee. So want to take a 5-minute, but you have to come back, because I will track you down, I will hunt you down like a dog. I'm Sicilian, don't fuck with me.